The Supreme Court is leaning towards a rule that a Christian website designer has a free speech right to refuse to work with same-sex couples planning to get married because she is a conservative evangelical Christian. The case was brought by Lori Smith, who wanted to expand her business to include weddings, but she filed suit against Colorado seeking confirmation that she is not obliged to work with a same-sex couple seeking a wedding website she could provide. This is according to Yahoo News. It's also worth noting that there has not actually been a same-sex couple seeking her services. This was a preemptive case, test case that was brought. The conservative majority court on Monday appeared ready to make their ruling in favor of Smith.
The outcome of this case could puncture laws in a variety of mostly blue states that forbids discrimination against LGBTQ customers. Liberal Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor asked if this ban could affect other unions as well. She asked how about people who don't believe in interracial marriage or people who don't believe disabled people should be married, underscoring the question of where the First Amendment line can be drawn. So I think pretty much everyone expects this to be a 6-3 decision or something along those lines. In favor of this small business owner's right not to design a website for same-sex marriage. I think, frankly, the arguments that would violate her First Amendment rights are probably stronger, even in this case, than some of the other ones that have been decided, like the cake baking shop.
Why
given
do you think that?
I would say that this is more explicitly speech related than, and to be clear, I agreed with the conservatives in the cake baking case as well. This is even more clearly, in my mind at least, and I think in the minds of a lot of people, it's a speech related issue because a website literally has words on it, right? It engages that a written creative process to make a website.
Yeah, I guess the question that people are asking is if she makes kind of pro forma, and this is the line of question that Justice Kagan was asking about. If to a certain extent, a lot of these websites are pretty pro forma, and a wedding website is, here's a date, here's the pictures that it's submitted by a couple, here's a venue. They submit the statements that get posted to the website. She's more in a hosting capacity. What is the line between saying I'm selling a kind of a rote good, a kind of a standardized good, the same way I would be selling cups or reefs of paper or whatever, cell phones, and saying I'm denying a gay person, a gay couple, a right to buy it because I disagree with their quote unquote lifestyle, and saying this is a speech issue because there are words on the cup or my creativity has gone into it. And I think that is where a lot of people are a little uncertain. People were objecting to a line of questioning from Justice Alito where he was running through the hypothetical of if I am basically a mall Santa taking pictures with families and there is a child with a KKK robe on, do I have to, as the mall Santa or the photographer, have to participate in that? And if the answer is no, there was another colloquy about, well, what if it was a black kid in KKK robes, and people were laughing and joking about that and taking issue with the Supreme Court's levity with this counterfactual. I think that's a distraction. I do think there's something, let me just say this. I think that the K case was hard, and honestly, I think probably rightly decided, despite me not objecting on the substance of it, me not agreeing with the substance of it. I am concerned about how far this is going to go. Because there are these cases being brought. Again, nobody infringed on this woman's speech rights. Nobody asked her to do this. I don't think a lot of gay couples are eagerly wanting someone who is statedly, has been very clear that they don't agree with their right to be married and to love each other in that way, wanting them to plan their wedding. That's not actually what's happening. Well, but what the goal is here is to get laws on the books that are going to be potentially coercive and restrictive to other people in other circumstances.
A gay couple did seek out the cake shop
That's
owner,
true,
right?
yeah.
You're right, not in this case. And I agree with you. It's just who's being harmed? There are so many options to satisfy your cake baking needs or your wedding website needs. So many people, so many businesses that would affirm and participate in a gay celebration. There is no harm there's no likelihood of not having that need met. So then it becomes, for me, in addition to being a free speech issue, like, is the state's compelling interest in forcing this business to help serve a wedding where this is like a bad match all the way around, because they wouldn't want to, they'll do a bad job because they don't believe in it, and it seems so messy and unnecessary to make them do it in these couple cases. It seems fundamentally different. Okay, what if you're in a small town, right? We can concoct all sorts of scenarios. A small town, there's only one inn, there's only one hotel, and they won't let traveling gay couples stay there. I could see how you can make an argument that no, maybe the government has some compelling interest in that there's some harm to actually adjudicate. There's no harm here. The harm is on the business being forced to do something they don't want to do. And on the other side, there's not really, they have plenty of other options, so why make them?
In those kind of instances, that was the setting of these kind of the Katzenberg cases, the slate of civil rights cases that got the law on the books as we understand it today. The justification was often that, you have, Black people traveling interstate through states where there are sundown towns and there are prohibitions against staying in mixed race housing establishments, gas stations, being able to find restaurants that would serve Black people, and that you could drive through for days and days and days in the United States of America, territory where you would basically die or starve to death on the side of the road because there literally weren't any accommodations for you. And at that point, the government should step in and say, these are basic needs that need to be met, and you can't discriminate against someone even though you do have a right of free association and these attendant speech rights. It's difficult because I think everyone's concerned about what happens if the camel's nose gets under the tent, or whatever the expression is.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah,
what does happen if the camel's nose gets under the tent?
It's the horse out of the barn, whatever these expressions are. And we do seem to be, I think, as a society, litigating the parade of horribles as opposed to this particular instance. Because again, in this particular instance, I don't care what this unhappy lady wants. I don't care what this unhappy baker wants. People have other kinds of options. But are these organizations that are bringing these kinds of cases mounting something bigger, and we're going to look up one day and be afraid of what we were indifferent to because it didn't seem like that big a deal at the time?
I think they would say they're afraid if they say nothing, the next thing will be, this is getting kind of close to, could a Christian publisher not take a book proposal from a gay person? Is something very ideologically tied, or is it something getting closer and closer to the speech element of the First Amendment?
That's the thing. I would understand that if there were a bunch of gay couples terrorizing small Christian businesses, trying to force their hand, but that's not actually what's happening here.
Okay, no, but this woman was concerned that she was going to expand her business into wedding websites, and saw that on paper there is this rule prohibiting her from doing what she was intending to do, and she was worried that some bureaucrat in connection with some activists on this issue is going to make her life hell, which you could absolutely imagine happening, even if the vast majority of these couples would not want to work with her or have any kind of The issue is, if it's on the books, there could be some bureaucrat and some activists who want to punish you for it, which is what happened in the Masterpiece case,
I do think
right?
that's a little bit too credulous. The ADF has been working with her, and there's been the whole publicity machine that has been covered by people. Mark Joseph Stern has done a thread on this, where they have. Her website is being developed in conjunction with the people who are running her case to basically set her up as a test case for this. It's not really clear how much of this is even authentic in the first place, or whether she just volunteered to be a person. Was she even sincerely interested in expanding her business in this way? It's not even clear. So it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, there could be someone like her. But the question is whether or not we're all being done a disservice by framing this issue as though there are a bunch of gays that want to force you into their lifestyle, when the opposite, it seems, in fact, is true. There are a bunch of people preemptively trying to narrow the rights and privileges that historically marginalized groups have, and whether or not people are being put into a position of fear and defensive posture because they believe that is the case, when in fact it's the opposite. I don't know, is the world being benefited by someone bringing this kind of lawsuit without just waiting for someone who authentically is frustrated by being forced to make content that is against their own beliefs? Right,
but I guess if I think they shouldn't, and I do think that they shouldn't be forced anyway, I'm fine with having it adjudicated over this case.
I think that what we saw in Dobbs there are times when political decisions are far broader than even the case that's being brought before them, and that has far-reaching consequences for a lot of vulnerable people, and that's the concern. If it could just stay here, I don't think that there's a person in this world who gives a fig if this particular woman serves gay people.
Well, obviously, some people does. There are people on the other side of this case, right? There are probably going to be 3 Supreme Court justices who vote that she should have to do that, even in the hypothetical and the actual that ever came up.
Once the case is brought, you have to defend the case, but that's not the issue. It's whether or not that in the abstract anybody cares what this individual woman does versus whether we care there's a law in the books. A lot of people are invested in whether or not there's a law in the books that will limit the right of gay people. And so that's what's being arbitrated here. And I don't know, I do think it's important to realize the question is, are people weaponizing religion to narrow people's rights, or are people weaponizing, gay culture or leftist culture or whatever to narrow the rights of religious people? And I'm not sure that we've got the framing on this one right.
Well, Robby, website designs takes all comers, so just look out for that. More Rising right after this.